Imagine having only $500 left to your name. Not a savings account, not an inheritance, just a few fragile bills in a worn envelope. Money that could barely postpone disaster, not prevent it. For Alena Morozova, this was not a nightmare, it was her reality. She was 30, raising her son Nikita on her own. Once she had worked as a nurse in a small regional hospital, and though the hours were long, her paycheck brought stability. Then the hospital shut down. Overnight, the foundation beneath her life collapsed. Since that day, her existence had been spiraling downward like a car with no brakes. Nikita suffered from severe asthma. His medication was expensive, and even back in better times it was almost impossible to afford. Now, with Alena working to low-paid jobs, mornings in a shabby coffee shop and nights at a convenience store, survival itself had become a luxury. Sleep came in fragments. Time with her son slipped away like sand through her fingers. As if fate wanted to test her further, their landlord announced he was selling the building. Everyone had 30 days to leave. For Alena, the ultimatum was mercilessly simple. In a month, she and her child would have nowhere to live. She scoured rental listings, compared numbers, and every road ended the same way. Too expensive. All she had was $500, collected one coin at a time, a fragile emergency fund. Their one lifeline. One night, while Nikita was asleep, she sat in the half-dark scrolling through endless listings, her eyelids heavy with tears of exhaustion. That was when she saw it. An auction of tax-delinquent properties. Most lots were houses far out of reach, tens of thousands at the starting price. Then one stood out. Abandoned farmhouse on 3 acres. Starting bid, $500. The photo showed a two-story house, white paint peeling like old skin, windows like empty eye sockets, weeds tall enough to swallow the front porch hole. The next day she showed her friend Svetlana. "Have you lost your mind?" Svetlana said, setting down her coffee. "That place is poison. The roof is gone. The walls are mold. Nikita will suffocate there. Houses like that come cheap for a reason." Alena's voice was flat but firm. "We have no other place to go. At least this would be ours." The county courthouse was cold and grand, marble echoing under her cheap shoes. Rows of developers filled the room like vultures waiting to strike. They spoke with confidence, their wealth wrapped around them like armor. She sat in the back in her blue coat, the one she had once bought for job interviews, clutching an envelope with everything she had in the world. $500. When the farmhouse appeared on the list, the silence was heavy. No one showed interest. $500, she whispered, raising her trembling hand. From a corner, a man in a tailored suit lazily responded without looking up from his phone. $600, $700, she said, voice steadier now. $800, he counted, still distracted. Alena's heart pounded. She knew the truth. She was already out of reach. $500 was her ceiling and her floor, every last cent she owned. She tried to explain. "I have exactly $500. That is all. That is my bid." The room shifted. Wealthy men glanced her way. The bidder in the corner shrugged, smirking, and lowered his hand. "Too much work for that wreck." The auctioneer hesitated, then dropped the gavel. "Sold for $500. Her chest felt hollow. She had just exchanged her lifeline for a ruin. She was now the owner of a cursed house. When she brought Nikita to see it, they sat in their old car staring at the silhouette. The real thing was even worse. The walls sagged, the roof drooped like broken bones, and a smell of mold and dust seeped even from outside. That night they slept in the car, wrapped in a thin blanket. Nikita whispered, "Mother, are you sure we can make it?" She pulled him close. "We will. We have no choice." At dawn, a pickup truck pulled into the yard. An elderly woman with silver hair and kind but piercing eyes stepped out carrying a basket. "I am Valentina," she said, "your new neighbor. So you bought Klimova's estate. Brave choice. No one has lived here since the mistress disappeared back in '89, Alena froze. Disappeared, yes. Her name was Sofia Klimova. One day she simply vanished. No suitcase, no explanation. People say the house is cursed. That word echoed through Alena's mind all day. Cursed. A few days later, exploring the upstairs rooms with a flashlight, she noticed one floorboard shift under her weight. She knelt and pried it up. A rusted metal box. Inside were photographs, a journal, and an old key. That night she opened the journal carefully. Her breath shortened as she read. Sophia was not a simple herbalist as the townspeople believed. She had been a biochemist, a scientist who abandoned the capital to study plants in isolation. Among the sketches and formulas was evidence of something extraordinary. She had found a compound that could treat a deadly disease. But then the pages grew colder, urgent, frantic. Someone with the initials RR had been pursuing her, offering millions. She refused. The final entry trembled with dread. Someone was in the house last night. I am hiding the research in another place. If you are reading this, the house will decide who becomes the next guardian. From that night, shadows began closing around Alena. A man arrived in a black car, calling himself an official, suggesting her purchase might not be valid. Another stranger, a sharp woman in a suit, offered 200,000 in cash if she would walk away. Each visit came heavier, filled with veiled threats. When one evening Nikita nearly collapsed, wheezing because his inhaler contained nothing but water, Alena knew this was no coincidence. Her neighbor Mikhail, a contractor with steady eyes and calloused hands, offered to help. There was another structure deeper in the trees, he said. Together they hacked through brambles until they reached a bunker-like building. The strange key fit. The door groaned open. It was an old laboratory. Inside, dust lay over workbenches, shelves, sealed jars of dried plants. Strangely intact, as if waiting, a small safe sat against the wall. With shaking hands, Alena unlocked it. Inside were notebooks filled with chemical diagrams, precise formulas, experiment logs. This was Sophia's hidden research. And a letter. If you found this, I am gone. Let my work belong to the people. Threats sharpened overnight. One evening Mikhail found the brake lines of her old car cut clean through. She realized Sophia's fate had been sealed because her work was worth billions. And now Alena stood in the same place. Hungry for answers, she searched the town library, scanned microfilm of old newspapers. In black and white print she saw what she feared. In 1989, the investigation into Sophia's disappearance had been dropped almost immediately. The name Radchenko appeared again and again. A pharmaceutical tycoon. His company had failed its trials on the same disease. He needed Sophia's success. Behind wallpaper, she discovered another box. Inside, disturbing letters and a cassette tape. When she managed to find a player, her blood turned to ice. A woman's voice, firm and emotional. I will not sell my work. Then a man's voice, measured, cold, unmistakable. You will regret this, Dr. Klimova. Everyone has something to lose. That was no myth. That was a death sentence preserved on tape. Alena took the cassette and the papers to a journalist, and then to federal agents. The FBI listened. Soon afterward, workers unearthed human remains in the soil behind the house. Dental records confirmed it was Sofia Klimova. After 3 decades, her story had finally surfaced. The trial erupted like a storm. Radchenko was accused. Headlines filled the nation. Pharmaceutical giant implicated in disappearance and murder of scientist. Stock markets trembled. Overnight the narrative shifted. The discovery was real, the cure was real, and the cover-up was exposed. Meanwhile the house transformed. Volunteers arrived to help repair the rotting walls. Mikhail organized the work, friends donated building materials, and the overgrown gardens were cleared. Herbal beds were restored and named Sophia's Gardens. Alena founded a foundation in Sophia's name, ensuring the cure would remain affordable for patients. Months later, Alena stood on the porch, holding Nikita's hand. His asthma had calmed, his eyes glowed with hope. Beyond the repaired windows, twilight fell gently across the land. She glanced up at the second floor and thought she saw a fleeting silhouette. A woman, her hair dark, her eyes bright. For a moment the air smelled of lavender. Alena smiled. It was not a curse. It was protection. The house had chosen. And the spirit of Sophia was still watching, proud, guarding, making sure her legacy would never be buried again.